Okay, so we're going to go over question 5, which is a longer written answer, so I might do this one in 2 parts. So it is important in the written answers in the test now that you understand that it's not as strict as it used to be in terms of English. So it's important to communicate well, but if the examiner can get what you're saying, and you know, if they've got the main scientific information, you're not penalized to the extent that you used to be in old specifications. So we're going to go straight on to the question itself. Light intensity, carbon dioxide concentration, and temperature are 3 factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. How would you investigate the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis? The image below shows apparatus that you might use. You've got a lamp, some pondweed, a ruler and a beaker. So we've got to include how we would set up the apparatus and what materials we'd use, the measurements we'd take, and how we make it a fair test. So the first thing to point out is I thoroughly recommend using a numbered list. So I'm doing point 1, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And I'm also writing largely using the imperative. So the imperative is a structure in English which is like do this, do that, use this, measure that, repeat this. So you're starting with a verb and using the present simple. So yeah, use that structure. It's quick, it's efficient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically change the light intensity by moving the lamp a greater distance in steps away from the pondweed, which is going to be in the beaker, producing bubbles which you're going to count. So step 1, this is what I had. Check on the time. Place the pondweed in the beaker full of water, this bit here. Use the ruler to mark lines on the desk at distances of 50 mil, 100 mil, 150 mil, 200 mil, 250 mil, and 300 mil. And I haven't gone over the length of my ruler. I guess I could have got a longer ruler and said that. Using a stopwatch, time 1 minute with the lamp at 50 millimeters away and count the number of bubbles of CO2 produced. Okay, so then step 4 is repeat step 3 twice more. Step 5 is check for outliers and repeat steps 3 and 4 if necessary. An outlier is another name for an anomaly. It's one that doesn't fit. Calculate the mean of the bubbles, so you're adding up the ones that aren't anomalies and dividing them by the number of repeats that you've got. And then step 7 is to repeat steps 3 through to 6 again. So please note this technique of one step repeating the previous step or repeating some previous steps. So it's a really quick way of saving time. Alright, so step 7 is just to repeat steps 3 to 6 for all the other distances. To get a fair test, I would say you would have to black out the lab. I'm just going to check on time. Got a minute left. So yeah, to black out the lab to make sure there's no unwanted light, to make sure all the light that you were using would come from the lamp itself. Now, one thing I am aware of is light bulbs which use a filament light, a bit of wire that heats up, obviously may heat the water up with the pondweed in it when the lamp is at smaller distances away from the pondweed. So I've suggested using an LED bulb would be far more suitable because they don't produce nearly as much heat and they're far less likely to change the temperature away from a constant value. So I've said to place a thermometer in the water and then to stop testing if the temperature goes too high or too low. So there'll be a second part to this question.